So I was cleaning out the pantry cupboard today, and I found a bag of sweet potatoes that I had dried that the little moths get into. You know, sometimes you bring something home from the grocery store, it might be past the expiration date, you didn't notice, it's got little moths in it. I keep a few cake mixes around, but we eat very, very little sweets, so this has probably been in there for 2 or 3 years, to be perfectly honest, and I can see the little webs on the edge, so I know the moths got into this. So it's a perfect excuse for me to make some birdie cake. And birdie cake is what I give my chickens as a treat. They absolutely love it. You can use any old cake mix. You can get a cheap cake mix from the store. It doesn't matter if it's white. I wouldn't recommend chocolate. I think chickens aren't supposed to have a whole lot of chocolate. But any white cake, pound cake, orange cake, yellow cake, anything like that is fine. It doesn't really matter. And what you're going to do is you're going to prepare it based on the instructions on the box. And the instructions on the box say that we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. So we'll start there. And then there's a couple of different pan options you have. I'm going to use a 9x12 pan. It says to grease the pan. So I'm going to take a little bit of shortening. Grease the pan up. And then a little trick that I learned, instead of flouring the pan once you grease it, get rid of this, put this in the box, is you can take a little bit of whatever your mix is, put it in the pan, slide it around, and that way you don't have a flour coating on the bottom of your cake mix, or your cake when it's done. Just do that. Put the rest back in the bowl. And we'll set that aside. So the other things that this mix calls for are 1 1/3 cup of water. And like I said, follow your cake mix. Whatever it says, those are the directions that you're going to use. Mine also calls for 2 eggs. So I'm going to do 1 egg. And we're going to keep the shells in because it's for the chickens. 2 eggs. Now it only calls for 2, but because it's a birdie cake, I'm going to put 2 extra eggs in. And these are my chicken's eggs. They were laid today, so they're nice and fresh. I'm going to crumble up the shells in there. I'm going to rinse my fingers off. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to add is scratch grains. Doesn't matter what kind of scratch grains. Mine has buckwheat and wheat berries and cracked corn. Doesn't really matter. I got 2 cups and I'm going to add that in. If your mix calls for oil, you can use vegetable oil, but another option is you can use animal grade wheat germ oil. It really bumps up the vitamin D content. If your birds are shut in for a while, if they're not exposed to a whole lot of sunlight, if it's a really low light time of year, like right now, it's the middle of January here, and it is really cold. So they need the extra calories, but the extra vitamin D can really do them some good too. So if your mix calls for oil, that's another option. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix this concoction up. And if there's something else that your chickens specifically think are treats, sometimes I'll add a little bit of millet, a little bit of wild bird seed. It really doesn't matter what you put in here. Whatever your chickens think is great. Just going to mix that up, eggshells and all. And it's not like a cake that you're going to eat, so it really doesn't matter if all the lumps are out of it or not. And then we're going to take our pan. I'm going to add this in here. Okay, spread it out a little bit. Put that in the sink. And then we're going to pop this in the oven. My cake mix says that it is 350 for 20 to 25 minutes, so we're going to check it in about 20 minutes. And like I said, this is a great way to use up old cake mixes. I have a nice big pantry, but one of the drawbacks of having a nice big pantry is sometimes things get pushed to the back. This used to be a bag of dried sweet potatoes. Obviously the moths have eaten it all. But because of that, that means that probably everything else that's in my pantry that is not in a glass jar is probably infested. Okay, cake is out of the oven. It's cooled nicely. So what we're going to do is cut a piece. Billy is going to be our official taste tester. Ah, she says it's good. So, like in all our Rooster Hooch videos, pour yourself a glass of hooch and share it with your favorite rooster. Thanks for watching.